Okay. Okay, we are discussing about health. Okay, what are the different conditions that keep that helps in maintaining good health? Means a balanced diet, personal hygiene, and a regular exercise are very important to maintain good health. And next, yoga has been practiced since a time immemorial to achieve physical and mental health. Okay, and next, okay, not only physical but also mental health can be developed by doing yoga. So that's why nowadays we can see the yoga. Okay, the yoga has been very popularized, and they have developed the awareness of yoga. And next, awareness about the diseases and their effect on bodily functions. So they should know what are the different types of diseases that are regularly observed in that area, and how they can keep protected from those diseases. Okay, and next, vaccination. Okay, vaccination, that is immunization infectious diseases. Okay, any vaccinations are provided. Okay, you have to take those vaccines, okay, to protect our body from different infectious diseases. And next, proper disposal of waste. Okay, the waste that is generated in the household or in industries or in okay, any other means, that should be properly disposed. And next, control of vectors. That means okay, not only controlling the disease causing organisms, we have to also control the organisms which are involved in the transmission of diseases, or the structures that are involved in transmission of diseases. So there is a control of vectors and the maintenance of hygiene in food and water. So most of the diseases are transmitted through food and water. So while we are taking food and water, that food and water in hygienic conditions, okay, these are all necessary for achieving good health. Okay, then what is a disease? When the functioning of one or more organs or systems of the body is adversely affected, characterized by the appearance of various signs and symptoms, we say that we are not healthy, that is, we have a disease. So that means when the organs that are present in our body are not functioning properly, okay, because of the improper functioning of these organs and systems, we'll observe certain changes that are taking place in our body. Those are called signs and symptoms. Okay, these signs and symptoms will help us to identify which organ or which system is affected, and we can also identify the cause of ill health. Okay, so the characterized by the appearance of various signs and symptoms, then we say that these changes that are taking place in the functioning of the organs, we say, okay, when we find such things, we say that the person is not healthy, and that condition we say that the person is suffering from certain disease. Okay, so when we have a disease, we'll say, okay, the health is affected because of the change in the functions of the organs or systems that are present in the body. And next, diseases can be broadly grouped into two types, that is infectious and non-infectious. Okay, the diseases are broadly classified into two groups, infectious diseases and non-infectious diseases. Okay, what are infectious diseases? Diseases can be broad, okay, which are diseases which are easily transmitted from one person to another are called infectious diseases. Okay, the diseases which can be easily transmitted from one person to another. Okay, then such a condition we are calling it, okay, such a type of diseases we call it as a infectious diseases. And next, infectious diseases are very common and every one of us suffers from these at some time or other. Generally we can see, no, some persons, okay, that is either sneezing, coughing, okay, fever, okay, we'll say vomiting, diarrhea, and all this. These are the regular symptoms that we observe because of infectious diseases. Okay, every person might be affected with these infectious diseases at some time or other time. And next, some of the infectious diseases like AIDS are fatal. Okay, some of the infectious diseases are fatal. That means they leads to death of that person. Some can be cured. Okay. So by taking certain treatment, these infectious diseases, most of the infectious diseases can be cured. But there are some infectious diseases, okay, there is no treatment for them. So it leads to the death of that person when these diseases, when this disease causing organism enter into our body. Okay, for example, AIDS. Okay, AIDS is an infectious disease which is fatal. And next, among the non-infectious diseases, that means the diseases which are not easily spread from one person, are not spread from one person to another person. Okay, for example, cancer. Okay, cancer is a non-infectious disease because it occurs due to the mutation in the cells. Okay, it cannot be transmitted from one person to another person under normal conditions. So if, okay, among non-infectious diseases, cancer is the major cause of death. That means among non-infectious diseases, cancer is the major disease which is resulting in the death of the person. Okay, death rate because of diseases or because of non-infectious diseases. And next, drug and alcohol abuse also affect our health adversely. Not only because of the disease causing organisms, okay, either infectious or non-infectious diseases, but because of the drug and alcohol abuse, that means indiscriminate intake of this drugs and alcohol will also affect the health adversely, and they are also responsible for the death of the person due to this drug and alcohol abuse. Okay, that concept also we'll discuss at the last of this chapter. So that is, so basically the diseases are divided into two groups. So infectious diseases and non-infectious diseases. So now we'll discuss some common diseases in human. Okay, a wide range of organisms belonging to bacteria, viruses, fungi, protozoans, elements, etc. could cause disease in man. Okay, there are some bacterial diseases, some viral diseases, some fungal diseases, some protozoan diseases, some helminthic diseases. Okay, these are all organisms which can cause diseases in man, that is human. Okay, such disease causing organisms are called pathogens. Okay, whatever these organisms, bacteria, we are saying bacteria, virus, fungi, protozoans, helminths, these are the organisms which are responsible for the occurrence of disease in human. And these disease causing organisms, we are calling them as commonly as pathogens. Patho means disease. Gen means causing. Okay, that means the organisms which will cause a disease. And next, most parasites are therefore pathogens as they cause harm to the host by living in or on them. So that is okay. Most of these diseases are caused by the parasites because they can't able to obtain their own food, so they depend upon other organism for food. While parasitizing on other organisms in that course, it is causing damage to the different organs of the body, leading to this disease condition. Okay, either they live inside or outside of the body and they cause diseases. So the pathogens can enter our body by various means. Okay, through different ways, the disease causing organism may enter, or the pathogens may enter into our body. After entering into our body, it multiplies. That means it increases in number. And next, after increasing in number, as the number is increased, okay, they interfere with the normal vital activities. So they obstruct the different functions that are carried out by the different organs that are present in our body, resulting in morphological and functional damage. So the organs morphologically get damaged and their functions is also affected. So, okay, the pathogens first will enter into our body through different ways. After entering into our body, they multiply and later they obstruct the different activities of the body parts, which results in change in the morphological and functional roles of that organ, causing damage. And next, pathogens have to adapt to life within the environment of the host. And next, so that means if any organism, we all know, even when they are present outside the host organism, any organism, first of all, they have to adapt to the environment in which they are living. In the same manner, these pathogens which are living inside the body of the organism, they also adapt depending upon the place where they are living. Okay, already we have discussed that in organisms and populations, while we are discussing about okay, population interactions, we come across this parasitism. In that, the parasites have evolved some new mechanisms to live within the host. Some develop cuticle, some develop microvilli, and some have got suckers and hooks, and some organisms are able to live only in specialized organs. Okay, like that, every organism, not only the normal living organism which is living outside, but the parasites which are living inside the host organism also, they have to adapt to the environment that is present inside the host. Okay, for example, the gut must know a way of surviving in the stomach at the low pH and resisting the various digestive enzymes. So if a pathogen is entering into our body through food and water that we take, okay, it will enter into the digestive system. It enters the stomach. It has to survive in the stomach at the low pH and the high digestive enzymes action. Okay, if they do not survive in the stomach, they can't enter into the intestine, or it cannot enter into the inner parts of the body. So first it has to survive in the stomach and the various digestive enzymes of the digestive system. Then only it can survive and live within the body. And next, a few representative members from different groups of organisms are discussed here along with the disease caused by them. Okay. Prevent, okay, that is, okay, here we are discussing about some of the disease causing organisms. Okay, their pathogenic effect. And next, we also discuss about the preventive and control measures against these diseases in general are also briefly described. That means what are the preventive and control? Preventive means how we can prevent the spread of the disease. And at the same time, if the person is affected with the disease, what treatment he can take, that is called control. Preventive, okay, preventive and control measures. Control, once the disease, and okay, as already the person is suffering, at the time okay. So a few representative members from different groups of pathogenic organisms are discussed here along with the disease caused by them. That means some of the disease causing organisms we are discussing, and along with that some preventive and control measures against these diseases in general are also okay. That means the preventive, okay, what are the preventive steps that we can take to prevent the disease. And next, the control measures. That means once the disease is entered into our body and the disease is and the disease symptoms are shown, then what are the measures we can take, okay, to reduce those signs and symptoms and the ill effects of that disease causing organism. That one also we'll discuss here. So some of the bacteria. Okay, when you observe here, the Salmonella typhi. Salmonella typhi is a pathogenic bacterium. Okay, that means it belongs to heterotrophic bacterium which causes a typhoid fever in human beings. So the Salmonella typhi causes a disease called typhoid. It is a bacterium. And next, how this Salmonella typhi will enter into our body means the Salmonella typhi enters into the small intestine through the food and water, through the contaminated food and water. So these pathogens generally enter the small intestine through food and water contaminated with them and migrate to other organs through blood. So first it enters into the digestive system through contaminated food and water. Through contaminated, that means if fruits and vegetables are not properly washed and not properly cooked, then if any person eat such fruits, vegetables or other food items which are not properly washed, not properly cooked, and even after cooking, if they are not properly covered, then the contamination with this bacterium may occur, and this bacterium will enter into the digestive system, stomach, and finally reaches the small intestine. And from the small intestine, it enters into the bloodstream, and through the blood, it is transported to different organs of the body. Okay, that is it. And next, how we can know that the person is suffering from typhoid? Okay, we can observe sustained high fever, degrees to 40 degrees centigrade. Sustained, that means continuously high fever is maintained of about 39 to 40 degrees centigrade. What is the what is the normal temperature or optimum temperature of a human? What is the optimum temperature of the human body? Can anyone say? Okay, not 32, it is 37 degrees centigrade, not 32 to 37. It is a 37 degrees or 98.4 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so here the temperature is maintained at 39 to 40 degrees centigrade. That means 2 to 3 degrees more than the normal temperature. Okay, continuously. And next, weakness. The person will not show any, okay, will be lethargic. That means he does not show any interest in doing any work because of the weakness developed. Stomach pain, because it is affecting the digestive system. So we'll feel stomach pain, that is stomach ache. And next, constipation. Okay, that is there is a difficulty in sending out the fecal matter. And next, we'll find headache and a loss of appetite. That means the person does not feel hungry. Okay, loss of appetite are some of the common symptoms of this disease. So that is a sustained high fevers, okay, weakness, stomach pain, constipation, headache, and a loss of appetite. When a person is suffering from this symptom, then the doctor, okay, that means if you, when you go to the doctor, you'll say whatever the changes that are taking place in your body. Okay, so when you say all these symptoms are changes that are taking place in your body, then the doctor assume that you might be suffering from typhoid. Then he will ask you to have a microbial examination by diagnostic. Okay, ask, okay, that means, okay, you will go to the diagnostic lab and okay, and he will ask you to bring certain fecal matter, and he will test that fecal matter. And okay, and he will test, or he will go with a blood test. Okay, by testing the antibodies, presence of antibodies against this Salmonella typhi bacterium. Okay, either by using fecal matter or by using the blood test. Okay, both we can use it for identifying the disease. Okay, so that is so when observe, so by this blood test we can understand that the person is suffering from Salmonella typhi. And next, and he will give you a proper treatment for that. And next, if it is not treated at right time, then what happens? It leads to intestinal perforation. That means it damages the intestine, making it more porous, so that more fluids will be discharged into the intestine, leading to diarrhea and vomiting. So that is intestinal perforations, and it may lead to death, okay, in severe conditions. Okay, intestinal perforation, and later it leads to death may occur in severe cases. Okay, and next, typhoid could be confirmed by Widal test. Okay, already I told you a blood test now. What is the name of that blood test means? We call it as a Widal test. Okay, a test called as a Widal test. What they will do means they collect your blood. Okay, already one strip will be there. In that, already the antibodies, okay, the antigens for this typhi are present, and they'll collect the blood sample. Now from that blood sample, okay, they'll collect the serum, and some amount of serum is added to that, or the blood sample is added to that. If you are having infection, our body will produce certain antibodies, and that antibodies, okay, if that blood consists of antibodies, this antibodies will interact with the antigen that is present in that strip and shows a certain change in the color of that strip. Okay, if antibodies are present, it will change into one color. If antibodies are absent, there is no change in the color. So indicating that, okay, the presence or absence of a disease organism in your body. If disease causing organism is present in our body, okay, our body will produce antibodies. If there is no disease, no antibodies, no. If the disease causing organism is not there in our body, there is no antibody. Okay, now, so what we are doing, we are, okay, because we can't directly observe the organism in our body. So what we are doing, we are testing for the presence of antibodies. If antibodies are present, means it indicates that the person is having particular disease. So here we are checking for the presence of antibodies against the Salmonella typhi bacterium in our blood. And that is done with a viral test. Okay, the positive, okay, positive means it indicates that the person is suffering from disease, typhoid. Negative means no antibodies, so no disease condition of this typhoid. They may have other disease. Okay, okay, if you say properly all the symptoms that you are observed to the doctor, then the doctor will also advise you to have a proper diagnostic test. If you, okay, if you are not properly explaining to the doctor what are the symptoms that you are having, then the doctor also will not able to identify your disease properly. So that's why when you go to the doctor, whatever the feelings, whatever the changes, okay, that you are finding in your body, all those changes need to be explained clearly to the doctor. Don't hesitate anything. That is one and first and foremost thing that you have to learn. Okay, otherwise, okay, the doctor will ask, okay, do you have any, okay, that's this thing, that thing, that thing, that thing, okay, like that he will be asking. When he's, okay, why he'll ask means he has got different doubts. So to confirm those doubts, he will be asking different questions. Don't think that, okay, why he is asking all these ones, so why, okay, he will be asking to confirm, okay, to make sure that, okay, you are what is the type of the disease that you are suffering from. That's why you'll ask different questions. Okay, that is. And next one, a classic case in medicine, that of a Mary Mallon. Okay, Mary Mallon, nicknamed Typhoid Mary, is worth mentioning here. Okay, there is a woman called Mary Mallon, who was nicknamed as called as a Typhoid Mary. She was called as a Typhoid Mary. Why? Because she was a cook by profession and was a typhoid carrier who continued to spread the typhoid for several years through the food she prepared. Okay, she is having the typhoid organism, that is Salmonella typhi, but she is not showing the symptoms because she is immune. Okay, she is highly immune, so the symptoms are not shown outside, but she is having the disease causing organism in her body. So what happens as she is carrying the disease, okay, the disease causing organism regularly comes out through the fecal matter. Okay, through the fecal matter, and she is not properly cleaning or washing her hands after going to the washroom, and with that unhygienic hands she used to prepare the food material, and through that she this typhoid to some thousands of people through the food she cooked. Okay, as she was not showing the symptoms, but still the disease causing organism is present in her body. That's why she was called as the carrier. If the symptoms are not shown, then such persons we call it as carriers, or such organisms we call it as carriers. If they are not showing any symptoms, but still they spread the disease from one person to another person. Okay, that is what we can see here. So typhoid Mary, that is Mary Mallon. Okay, she was a cook by profession, and she spread this typhoid disease to several people through many years through the food she prepared. How they came to understand means whoever they have eaten the food that was prepared by this Mary, they are suffering from this typhoid. So, okay, they want to know how this disease is spreading. So they came, okay, in a reverse manner. They identified from whom it is transmitted, and finally they found that this Mary Mallon is the is the person who is spreading all this typhoid because she was a carrier. She also don't know actually because she is not showing any symptoms. Okay, that is the and next another disease causing organism bacteria. Okay, bacteria like Streptococcus pneumonia and Haemophilus influenzae are responsible for the disease pneumonia in humans, which infects the alveoli or filled sacs of the lungs. Okay, there are two types of bacteria, that is Streptococcus pneumonia and Haemophilus influenzae. Two types of bacteria, and these two bacteria, okay, they are supposed to cause a disease called pneumonia, and this pneumonia, okay, is the disease which causes infection to the lungs, especially the alveoli of the lungs. Okay, as a result of the infection, the alveoli get filled with the fluid, leading to severe problems in respiration. So because of this infection, what happens? A large amount of fluid will be, okay, produced, and this fluid will be filling the alveoli. As a result, the exchange of gases in the alveoli is getting disturbed because the membrane of the thickness of the exchange of gases is increased. As a result, the diffusion of gases is taking place. The diffusion, okay, is getting difficult. So that is so as a result of the infection, the alveoli get filled with the fluid, leading to severe problems in respiration. Okay, the symptoms of pneumonia include fever, chills, cough, and headache. Okay, the symptoms of the pneumonia includes fever, chills, cough, and headache because it is related to, okay, the respiratory system. No, so we'll find cough. Okay, and because of the, okay, and we'll also find the running nose, so we'll find headache. Fever is observed. Fever is common for any disease. Increase in the body temperature. It is also one method of defense by our body to protect our body from infections. That's why the fever is observed in any disease. And next, in severe cases, the lips and the fingernails may turn gray to bluish in color. Okay, that means if it is not treated at the right time, it leads to severe condition. In that case, the lips and the fingernails may turn gray to bluish in color. Okay, because of improper obtain of oxygen, because the, okay, the alveoli are filled with fluid, no, so the oxygen, the exchange of respiratory gases becomes difficult. So because of the inavailability of the oxygen, okay, the tips of the body does not obtain proper oxygen, so they turn into gray color, gray to blue, okay, gray to bluish in color. So a healthy person acquires the infection by inhaling the droplets or aerosols released by an infected person, or even by sharing glasses and utensils with an infected person. So how this is spread? It is spread through air. It is spread through the air. That means the infected person, when he was speaking, okay, some droplets, or while sneezing, some droplets or aerosols will be coming out, and through that the disease causing organism will also comes out, because it is present in the respiratory system. So okay, so and these droplets, when they are inhaled by a healthy person, they will also enters into the lungs of that normal person, and they cause infection. Even okay, the disease is also transmitted through the articles used by that infected person, like glasses, any utensils, towels, kerchiefs. Okay, and there are other diseases like dysentery, plague, diphtheria, etc., are some of the other bacterial diseases in man. Okay, there are other bacterial diseases are also there, like dysentery, plague, diphtheria, etc. Okay, these are some of the other bacterial diseases. So okay, we'll have typhoid, Salmonella typhi. Okay, and next pneumonia, which is caused by okay Streptococcus pneumonia and Haemophilus influenzae, and other bacterial diseases like dysentery, plague, and diphtheria. Okay, these are the some of the bacterial diseases, and the remaining other diseases we'll discuss in the next class.